They say better late than never, but never late is better. Dontrez Styles has committed to NC State, fashionably late.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go. It's the mobile hit twist on your classic Monopoly, so join your friends and download Monopoly Go today. It's now free on the App Store or on Google Play. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Dontrez Styles, formerly of the Dirty Foot Club and Georgetown last season. He's a 6'6" forward from Kinston, North Carolina, now is committed to NC State. We picked up on the potential interest in this type of development earlier this week. He both entered the portal and received a crystal ball in seemingly a matter of hours, and it really felt like there was something going on here. Turns out there was. He is now committed to NC State. It's been a long time coming, but Styles is officially here in Raleigh.
Kinston, North Carolina is the number one producer of NBA players per capita in the world. Get that Kinston and North Carolina State pipeline back flowing. Get it back. Let the floodgates of Kinston rain down 6'6" plus ballers into Raleigh because it's much needed. But no, Dontrez Styles is a very versatile offensive weapon. He can score at every level. Obviously, he brings that defensive aspect because of the length. You know, you would expect him to be a little bit better of a defender than maybe he's shown so far, but that's even it feels like it's being a little nitpicky there because I think he's done fine at that end, but I think he has the capabilities to go to another level defensively to where he's truly like a guy that's like, hey, I want you on the other team's best guy every night, follow him around, all that type of stuff. And again, that I said this is being nitpicky, but he's wonderful offensive weapon. He is excellent at attacking the rim and all that good stuff. He has that size of a big guard, can kind of play wing a little bit if need be. This is a special young man, and I'm glad to have him running with the pack.
This is a really good addition for Kevin Keatts and the Wolfpack, and we've had several people jump in our comments and kind of ask, what should we expect from this guy? He didn't really play a whole lot at North Carolina. He was on a very poor Georgetown team. What exactly are we getting? And I think a pretty accurate description is think of Casey Morsell, but 3 inches taller, but needs to work on his defense a bit more. I think Dontrez Styles, like Kenton mentioned, he can score at every level. He's a 36% shooter from the perimeter last season. You probably see that number go up a bit in the Kevin Keatts offense with the amount of shooting that he wants to get off. The interesting thing about Dontrez Styles is him being a 6'6" forward. You can put him at the 3, but you can also put him at the 4. When you want to play a smaller 3-guard lineup, you can keep Styles in there for that athleticism and still use his length to pull down rebounds and play some solid defense, or at least you hope. That's the blueprint. So I think Dontrez Styles is a really, really good fit for what Kevin Keatts wants to do. He wants guys that can get down the floor, they can run, they can shoot, they can be physical. He certainly checks all of those boxes. And so I think there's another level that Dontrez Styles can reach, and he was highly touted out of high school. Like we mentioned, Keatts has been on him for years now. He wanted him out of high school, ended up going down the road. He wanted him when he hit the portal last year, ended up going to Georgetown, hits the portal a second time, and it was all she wrote. Kevin Keatts said, no, you're coming home with me. And so we finally got him here. I understand a little bit of apprehension about this acquisition. We still do need a combo guard type player. That is potentially still to come here, probably sooner than later, but Styles, what he brings to the table is really exactly what this team needs going into next season.
Yeah, and I think that there is, to say that Dontrez answers every question that NC State is going to have going into next season, that's a stretch and a lie, right? Like that's not, a thing here. But he is a good piece to have going forward. He is a good piece that answers some questions. He may not answer them all, but he answers some. And if you get enough players that answer enough questions, all of a sudden you have those matchup advantages. You have all of the things sorted out. in terms of what you would need to see for a team to be successful. And again, I think Dontrez Styles is just a plus player. Like, that's just the facts of the matter, right? There are certain players where you're like, I'm not sure. There's the aspect of, yes, he scores a lot, but he allows so many points, or yes, he's really good defensively, but he gives you nothing on offense. Dontrez Styles to me is a plus player. That you look at him, you look at his impact when he's on the court, he's generally going to do positive things for your team. I think this is a very good get out of the portal. And I'll tell you what, when you talk about, the whole coming over and the rivalry and all that, all I'm saying is the Jakeem Harris for Dontrez Styles trade, I ain't mad at it. Like I said, Dontrez, you got 3 hell Vs, 2 Yao Bs, and 1 act of contrition, but you're all right with us after that.
I think comments about that trade is actually one of our Fan Friday comments, but as you might have expected, the fan reactions from the Dirty Foot Club about Dontrez Styles committing to NC State, they're going very similar to how you probably would have thought they would. And a lot of Dirty Foot Club fans are tripping and stumbling over themselves to shout as loud as they can how much they don't care, how much they are completely unmoved. Kenton, myself, and every single one of you listening to this knows their actions would indicate the opposite. They don't know what to do right now. Don't be fooled. They're very bothered by one of their own coming to play here in the red and white. And I do think that Dontrez Styles is going to provide a lot of good things, a lot to like about his game. One of the reasons that they do care so much is because Dontrez Styles plays winning basketball. We've talked a lot about that over the course of the postseason run, and all of a sudden Michael O'Connell and Mo Diarra and Jaden Taylor, they stepped up and they started playing winning basketball when it really mattered. Dontrez Styles is cut from that type of cloth, and a lot of UNC fans remember him for a very particular shot that he hit over Baylor in their run to the national championship just a couple years ago. He's been in big moments, and he has produced in big moments, and that type of player is exactly what you want to bring into this here program at NC State. So NC State fans, you should be ecstatic about this addition. He's not exactly an all-American, world beater, lottery pick type guy, but the things that he does bring to the table, the intangibles that he does have, they're going to provide a lot of winning plays for winning basketball.
And I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but 3-and-D is a recipe to being in the league for 10, 15 years in today's NBA. So, Dontrez Styles is a guy, again, all the potential in the world. Last year, he started to step into and realize that potential and turn into the player he needed to be. I expect him to take another step forward this year with the Pack. What a time, what a get, what a young man.
This is just one more scholarship off the board. I believe as it stands right now, there are still 2 more to fill. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about some potential implications for another transfer announcement that was made on Friday, after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is Monopoly Go. I have a competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one board, but hundreds of Monopoly boards. They include crazy locations, building up amazing cities, all while bringing in big money for yourself. But the best part is messing with your friends. You can charge them rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly, and you can heist their vaults to make their riches your riches. The leaderboards show you who the biggest Monopoly tycoon of them all is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or on Google Play. Our second sponsor of the day is eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's the winning formula for championships. But it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. That's because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Now getting into some transfer portal news, not exactly related to NC State, but it has implications. Indiana State guard Ryan Conwell has committed to Xavier out of his choices of schools. Now, I have to apologize to Xavier. I was not familiar with your game. I made some comments the other day that I did not see any way that Conwell would end up at Xavier, and he just did exactly that. For a quick moment, forgot who Xavier's head coach is, and that is Sean Miller. I'm not a big Sean Miller fan, but his reputation precedes him, and I certainly would understand why Conwell would want to take his talents out to Cincinnati. But nonetheless, NC State missing out on Conwell means that their attention certainly has to turn quickly to someone else, or perhaps it was the whole time. We talked about Mike James from Louisville. There has been supposedly way more interest in Mike James from the jump. And so, Kenton, do you think NC State is really honed in on their guy here, Mike James, potentially coming to NC State?
Yeah, I think so. I think that this is, at the end of the day, it's the butterfly effect, right? When things happen and people make choices, you then have to react and grow and do based on those choices. And it's clear, hey, we wish Conwell the best of luck over at Xavier and all that, unless he's playing the red and white NC State. And so with that in mind, now the thought becomes, okay, we're not getting him. Who's next up on the docket? Who's the next guy up? And in this case, it might not even be a guy that's like down the docket. I was like, oh, yeah, this was our 4C option. That may be the guy that was, you were like a 1A, 1B, and all of a sudden you ended up with your 1B because 1A went elsewhere. So I think all in all, Conwell committing to Xavier hurts. It's not the end of the world, though.
Interest in Mike James that kind of just appeared really sounds like it was kind of on the back burner until he did hit the portal. And then all of a sudden, this is who we are going after. And we spoke about Mike James just the other day. He's a 6'5" guard from Louisville, 12.6 points a game in the ACC, which is very relevant because when you're looking at a guy like Ryan Conwell and then you're looking at a guy like Mike James is a guy that's played 2 years in the conference that you play in, and he's been a double-digit scorer for both of those years. So I would certainly understand that if you had to compare the two, you feel a lot more comfortable taking the guy that has played in this league. He knows what to expect from the other teams. He knows how to score in this league, and that provides immediate dividends to NC State this coming season. And Mike James, being a bit of a bigger guard, I would still expect him to play the 2 guard spot, the combo guard position mostly, although I think his versatility opens up maybe some potential doors for some other things. But he's a physical guard, and that is really a lot of what State needs. They need a guy that can get to the free throw line, can shoot from the outside. Mike James is another guy, like Dontrez Styles. I think he's a really good fit, and he can accomplish a lot of things that Kevin Keatts is looking to do.
Yeah, 1,000% agree. I think that, again, it's, like Dabo Swinney always says about the portal, the other guy has to love you back too. It can't be an unrequited, like, hey, we want you so bad type of thing. It has to be a mutually beneficial partnership where two sides agree to come together. We didn't land this one. NC State is not going to land every recruit they go for. No school does. And so the thought isn't, oh, my God, it's all over now. We're going to be terrible next. It's, okay, who's the next guy up to go get and build and do good things for this team?
I've seen NC State have some interest in other guards. I know Hill from Bowling Green was in contention. I know Duke Miles from High Point was getting some looks, but none of them are receiving the type of buzz that Mike James is seemingly getting from NC State. And this is another guy like Dontrez Styles that State has wanted for quite some time. And for Mike James to hit the portal now seems like just a perfect time, a perfect snowball effect for Kevin Keatts to reel him in here.
Yeah, and there's, we talk about the effect of Conwell going elsewhere. There are other players in the portal right now. There are other good players in the portal right now that can use our services. And remember, last year people were tripping and oh my God, we haven't gotten anybody yet. And what happened? What was the end result? A Final Four run in our first ACC championship since before Grayson and I were even thought of. So, this. No need to get too riled up. No need to be too in the weeds about who we are and are not landing right now. There's plenty of time left in the portal. They will be just fine.
Here's a question for you, Kenton, on that point. If we feel like State has identified their guy, a guy that they really want in this program, We saw how crazy that this particular week was in the transfer portal. Do you hold out a bit longer to see potentially who else jumps in there? Or if you're NC State and you know this is what you want, do you go ahead and make it a done deal?
Well, I think that it's more art than science, but it's a science-based art, right? So I would say if Coach Keatts feels comfortable with what they have and who's currently there, take everything that's on the table, take everybody that loves you and is excited about you right now. But if you believe there's still something missing, we still need something to make the secret sauce that makes the mac sauce, then don't go and just say, hey, we're going to go with the first thing that's smoking it. No, that's a recipe for disaster. So I know that's a little bit of a cop-out answer, but the reality is it's up to Keatts and what he sees in this team that they don't need, what needs are met. What's like, we could maybe use a scholarship on an auxiliary piece type of deal and roll from there.
Mutual interest is obviously a very big component to this, but there is a fine line to walk in terms of patience and aggression. I just think if you know Mike James is exactly what you want, just go ahead and do it. Right. You can't sit around and wait forever because, I believe Florida State is also interested in Mike James. You cannot let Florida State get a chance to get a leg up on you if this is the guy that you want to go get. So if I'm NC State now, after just landing Styles, keep that aggression up, keep that pressure up. And if James is ready to do this thing, then we should be too. And so hopefully this is a done deal sooner than later. Coming up next, we're getting into Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Third sponsor of the day is Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. This makes getting tickets to the MLB even faster and easier. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The fun thing about Gametime is the prices on the app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Using their last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, really anything that you can think of. You can get a panoramic view from your seat on the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect. If you find your seat in a different row or section for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Last couple of minutes here on Friday. It's now time for Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. First one comes from Today Junior 44. They say, after watching the spring game, Julian Gray hitting the portal doesn't shock me at all. He would have been a great asset, but I don't blame him. I wish him well. So yeah, this echoes what we were talking about on Monday, I believe it was. The information that Julian Gray, wide receiver for NC State football, had entered the transfer portal. It didn't come as a shock. And all of the influx of talent that NC State received, the wide receiver position, especially this past offseason, it's very easy to see how a guy like Julian Gray can look at the depth chart and be discouraged about how many snaps he may take this year. And so he's a fantastic talent. We all know this. He's the fastest guy on any team that you put him on. I have no doubt that he will land on his feet somewhere, and we wish him the best. Yeah, and, again, when we talk about retooling a room, you talk about retooling a wide receiver room, somebody's going to get forced out. That's just the way it is. That's just the way the numbers are going to work out every single time. And Julian was one of my favorites. I really wish we could have worked him out and got him somewhere on the field, but I get it. Things happen. We wish him best luck. I'm going to do something unorthodox here. I'm going to put up a comment from a Tar Heel fan. This comes from Happy Tar Heel. I don't know how happy they've potentially been lately, but they say Jakeem Harris and Dontrez Styles. I'll take that deal. Well, Happy Tar Heel, what exactly do you think you're getting on your end of this deal? Kenton has his hand outstretched, ready to close this deal. If I think I speak for a lot of NC State fans here. We're taking this deal. And not only are we taking it, we're ecstatic about it. No disrespect to Jakeem Harris. I'm not seeing it for UNC's defense. In fact, UNC's defense is such a work in progress. Mac Brown didn't want the country to see it. He requested that their spring game is not on national television. So you can have Jakeem Harris. We're excited about Dontrez Styles and the immediate dividends that he can pay on our basketball team this coming season.
Yeah, and the reality is very simple, right? Jakeem Harris was in a moment in a situation where it's not like he wasn't a good player. It's just, if you got a backfield full of guys who can all get it done at a high level, only so many can play at a time. Same thing for our safeties. When you're looking back there, you see Boykin, you see Ronnie Rowe, you see Sean Brown, who's now a linebacker, but you see all these guys that get it done, somebody's going to end up being an odd man out. That's just how this works out. Coming back off a year-long injury, this year, last year, I was really not sure what you're going to get. I'll take that trade for Styles too. I'll take it.
Next one comes from Baden Border 87. They say, I don't know much about these players, but do we want a bunch of players from the worst team in the ACC? So this, of course, is referencing potentially Mike James and the actual addition of Brandon Huntley Hatfield from Louisville to NC State. My answer is this. Were they on the worst team in the ACC? Yes, but they're good players. They're solid players that can make a difference here at NC State. These are two guys that average double-digit points in the ACC. Yes, that's the league that we play in. So yes, we do want these guys. For Louisville, the sum is not equal to its parts. And Did Louisville struggle this year? Absolutely. Were they hard to watch this year? Absolutely. But two of those bright spots are two guys that we're interested in bringing to our team. So I look at this and I think this is an exciting opportunity. I think these are two guys that we absolutely should show interest in. And if the interest is there in return, like we mentioned, go ahead and make this a done deal because I really do think they can help us next year.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people truly underestimate how poor of a job Kenny Payne did in these years. Like, a lot of people will truly never comprehend how far he set that program back and how much damage he did. But I'm telling you, I want them. I want these two. They were good players on a bad team. I'll take it.
It can be a bit tough when you're riding a rudderless ship, and that's really what Louisville felt like. But if Mike James and Brandon Huntley Hatfield take a look at NC State and what we accomplished this year, and they want to get some of that, I think they can help us do a lot of very similar things going into next year. Last one here from Michael Holbrook. Sorry to keep bombarding you guys with questions, but I heard that the NCAA is mulling over the idea of changing eligibility rules from 4 years max to 5 years, since most kids attend 5 years of college anyway. Have you guys heard that rumor, and what do you think about it? Well, I've seen a lot of people in the media kind of get frustrated about a lot of players that are still exercising their COVID year rule. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kenton, this is the last year that that's in effect. Yeah,
because it started in 2020. Everybody got the extra year. If you were in that, if you were affected by that, and it's no longer a thing. All those guys have now aged out of the system effectively.
Yeah, it's added a little bit of a wrinkle in terms of roster reconstruction and the transfer portal, and you get guys that you look up and you're like, haven't they been here for 7 years already? You know, I don't know if that's the best idea. Me personally, I think it should go back to the traditional 4, because especially in this new world of NIL and the transfer portal, if you extend this out further, I don't know, man. I certainly understand a lot of different aspects to this of kids wanting to stay in college and maximize what they can do with NIL and the transfer portal. That all makes sense to me, but I think college sports would be served best if we do go back to that hard 4-year maximum, excluding redshirting, because that is obviously here to stay. But I think college sports will essentially revert back to its natural state, at least in some sense, once all these COVID players have now aged out.
Yeah, and honestly, the NCAA has bigger things to worry about. With this new ruling that passed in Virginia, which Grayson and I will be talking about on Monday, schools can directly pay players now. And everybody's going to be coming up with laws to not get left in the dust by UVA and Virginia Tech. So that and regulating that is much more of an arduous task for the NCAA than, having that debate of who should be eligible and for how long.
That'll do it for us here on Friday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what you think about the addition of Dontrez Styles to NC State basketball, from Dirty Foot Club to Georgetown to right back here in Raleigh. Tell us what you think about adding Mike James to the mix potentially sooner than later. The guard from Louisville really feels like he'd be a great fit here. If you think so, drop your comments in the comment box. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out the door. We will see you all on Monday, but until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.